When performance becomes pressure without purpose, even the highest achievers start burnout. In this episode, we will explore how leaders can move from performance pressure to purposeful performance so that teams can deliver outcomes without losing energy, creativity, trust, and meaning and have a meaningful discussion. In India, workplace stress and burnout have become a serious leadership concern with recent India focused on research pointing to high burnout levels and growing conversation around toxic environments. Globally, workplace engagement has weakened and sustainability performance is becoming a leadership priority, not just in here HR discussion. Before we dive into the topic and bring our speaker to the podcast, let's have a small video about Power of Knowing Forum. Welcome to Permanent Conclave, powered by Power of Knowing Forum, where insights become strategic advantage. Today's conversation is not against performance. It's against performance without purpose, recovery meaning, and a human operating system. Let's welcome Divesh and dive into the topic. Hi Divesh, welcome to our podcast. How are you today, sir?
I am doing very good. Thank you very much, Premji, for inviting me, and very much excited for this conversation on this very important topic.
Thank you, Divesh. It is an important topic for everybody of us to look at because the way burnouts are happening.
Yeah,
As, before we dive into the topic, would like to have a small intro about yourself, your journey for the audience.
sure. So, my name is Devesh Soni. I am founder of my company called Purposegenie, and there is a meaning to Purposegenie. I will talk about that. But I have 17 years of experience in sourcing industry, where I was very much going to multiple factories around the world, more than 200 factories which I visited in terms of sourcing. But last 3 years, I have been working for leadership team in terms of the capability of those leaders to understand. I mean, mostly for the managers around the world. When I was working in my last company, which is UK based company called Tesco. Purpose Genie started in 2022, and I started with blogging. But then gradually, when I started, writing more and more, started understanding about myself, my inclination towards people grew more, and that's how I thought that let's start something of my own. And then Purpose Genie started. I mean, full time as a full time. I started in November 2025, and it has been 9 months full of different exposure to different kind of people, and I'm talking about this topic. I'm very much excited about this topic. The meaning of Purpose Genie is how you can create magic with your purpose. And what I do, I help people, individuals, leaders, and the business to move closer to their purpose. And one thing just wanted to mention before I give it to you is purpose is not something to be found, it is something to be crafted. That is really very important to understand, because people, they think that we have to go to pilgrimage to find the purpose. It is not. You can craft your purpose. Over to you.
Thank you for that wonderful thing. So the right point is that purpose is defined by you. You don't need to search out that. That's a very important point that we need to look at. You
Correct.
can find purpose here. You can find purpose in supporting somebody. You can
Exactly.
find purpose in getting somebody to know something which is important for them and for their growth. I think that's a very important point. Now, Let's begin with one. When leaders push performance without purpose, what is the first thing that quietly breaks inside a high performance people?
See, the most important point to note down here is that when we don't think about purpose, if we just think about performance, the performance is short term. And when you have to really create that performance for the long term and with the sustained motivation, you have to connect to something bigger than yourself. And that is one of the things which is missing in most of the organization where I have seen, we have spoken to and dealt with, is that the people at the ground who are working, they don't know or they are not able to align their work with the bigger goal which they have. And if they are able to do that, I think that is the most important thing to be done, so that you get the sustained motivation of that. Salary and your perks and your incentives are good. I mean, that is very important. But then that gives you a very short term motivation to get going with your work. But when you connect with a bigger goal, a bigger purpose, and it really aligned to your values, I think the relationship goes far, far beyond, and you really are much more motivated to do that, in a long run.
Got it. Now, with that, how do we look at what are the early warning signs that high performer is still delivering results but internally disengaging? Because that pointer is important for us to look at burnout, right? So your take on it.
So, see, basically, if you look at the burnout, I really want to bring an analogy, and you must have heard some of the incident which happened in Delhi in the last summer, where you saw that there are a lot of air conditions which
Mhm.
got burned, and because of that, there's some tragic, death also happened in Delhi, and that incident happened multiple times in different areas. Now, when you look at that, what is happening is basically that we are dealing with machine, okay, and when we are dealing with the machine, it is important to understand that we when it happens, then you directly think that there is a direct instinct that maybe this is because of the faulty machine, but that is not really one particular reason because of that it happens. There are multiple things which are involved, and I would like to highlight three very important element which are there in this particular situation. Number one is the machine itself. Number two is the user of the machine, and number three is the environment. Now, looking at this particular situation, and talking about air conditions, what is happening is basically that when we are talking about the machine, now machine is designed to work within a certain capacity, right? And air condition is built to a certain area to create that cooling in your home. And if that load remains within the design capacity, it works beautifully. But then if it is going beyond that, there is a problem which is there. Maybe it is not visible, but it is there. Now let's look at the user. A user, there is a whenever any of the product is made, you will see that there are what do we call that, the manual is given to the user to understand that how do we use the machine. But sometimes we ignore that, we don't get it serviced, we don't get the filter clean, and we run that machine for multiple hours without realizing that something would be happening. And because of that, machine would be performing, but then there is some problem still there. Now, then third point, which is the environment. Now, in Delhi, the temperature in summer goes up to 46, 47 degree, and those compressor are outside your home, and it's already in a situation which is very much under stress without even you switch on the AC. What is happening? Everything together, it is not like one reason, everything together is creating that machine. The core idea is that the load of the machine is becoming greater than the capacity of the machine. And similar situation happens with human as well, right? So, taking that analogy, it is very important to understand that when you increase the load of any human being more than the capacity, then there is a situation of burnout which will be happening in the business. So that is something which you have to take care and try to understand. And there are only two important things which you can do. Either you decrease the load, which you may not be doing in this situation because we have a lot of work. And second, how can you increase the capacity? Yeah.
Got it. Where do leaders confuse commitment with constant availability?
So I think the basically with the performers, if you see in the business, they are they are always in the front to take those responsibility which has been given.
Hmm.
Yeah. Now, when they are constantly available, they are being given those responsibility. They always take those responsibility with. I mean, that is the start when you are in that role. You take that responsibility, and then you uh, are enjoying that at that moment of time. But then slowly and gradually, what is happening when that becomes the constant thing in the business? Then gradually, what happens that you will slowly and gradually, maybe you will not be showing off to the business, but you are not very much connected to the work because you are absorbing all the shock. But there are people who are not taking that responsibility in that manner. So whenever there is any of the new situation comes, or there is any project which comes, it goes to that particular performer, but it does not go to other team members. And then when the person that is when that person who is performer that gets burn out, then what will happen? He may leave the business, and then this entire team is they are not able to perform because that is completely dependent on one person. We can take the example of, if you remember in our time when Sachin and Sehwag was playing in Indian cricket team, and all the dependency was on them. When they were out, the entire team completely got started in some time. So we need to understand the strength of each and every team member, and we have to play in that particular manner.
I, I I understand. You should look at continuous availability to the commitment piece is what we are talking about. And I think when people think if somebody is working, he is not the one to be considered is always available, right? So he's doing his work so that he can get it done is what I understand. What should managers measure beyond output? Anything like energy, clarity, learning, trust, or recovery?
See, manager is. Let's understand the role of a manager. What
Hmm.
manager? Who is the manager first of all? So when we look at the analogy of that air conditioner, the manager is the user of the machine, right? Now, when the manager is leading a team, it is very important that you know that how to use the strength of each and every individual. Now, as if you don't know how to use the machine, if you don't know how what are the strengths of the team members, it will be very difficult for you to understand that how do we get the work done. Because if you don't know that, then everything will be coming on to the manager, and manager will be very I mean, soon the manager will be burnt out and he will not be able to manage the work. So, if you have the team, it is important for a manager to understand the work which is coming and how to delegate those work to the team members as per their strength. Because that is something which is very, very important. Because your team, you cannot judge or you cannot delegate the work to the team members just on the basis of what you think the work should be done from. I mean, everybody cannot do the same kind of work. Everybody has their own strength. So as a team, everybody has to complement the entire work together so that you can get the work done properly with your team members.
Got it. Now, what we are also saying is performance first culture rewards visibility output, right? And but often misses invisible depletion. Now, most of the time, that's the case that a top manager joins every call, helps everyone, says yes to everything, escalating, right? And still delivers target, but slowly loses creativity, patience, and joy. That's what happens is because he has to say yes for everything and they still deliver also, right?
Hmm.
And once he delivers, he does not think about how to creatively solve the problem. He looks at delivery only and he does not think anything creative. He does not have patience to listen or do anything, right? And that's where is the whole burnout thing that is happening in. If you look at the Indian context, we say in India, this connects with the current conversations around burnout, long hours, unclear workplace boundaries, right? So this is what I see is from a global standpoint. If you look at performance systems are being challenged to include energy, trust and sustainability also today. That's what we are, not just product,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
Now, how do we look at a trade-off for these things is when Divesh, what is your point when you say a trade-off that you can look at for this division?
So I think one of the thing is very important for all the manager is to uh, understand the environment which is there in the business. That is really important for I mean, one of the very important pillar that you need to understand, that how do you create a space where
Mm.
everybody, all the team members, they can be their best version of themselves. As I say that when the responsibility of any of the manager, any of the leader, is to ensure that everybody can work with becoming the best version of themselves. And if you are not able to create that space, then it becomes very difficult. Now when I say space, there are multiple things which is involved there, that you have to create that psychological safety within the team. You have to create that ecosystem within the team where they can really perform in their best way. You have to also ensure that um, you can create that environment where people can really understand that what kind of task is something which is there aligned to their own strength. So the important thing to understand is that each and every individual has to align with what are the tasks which has been given. Because if you look at the difference of personality of people, a manager role is to understand the role of different people, and the strength of them to get the work done in a much more efficient way.
Got it. Got it. Now, what also I look is high performers don't collapse suddenly; they quietly disconnect first. Is what I
Correct.
would like to say. And coming to our next pointer, what does purpose repair when performance pressure has damaged trust and energy?
So purpose, see, I mean, this is very interesting to understand. Is that I have been talking to many people, and many of the people, they say that purpose is something which is very abstract in nature. In the sense that how can purpose create something tangible in the business? But there are a lot
Mm.
of things which purpose helps um, to repair in the business, which is important to understand. Because performance uh, does not damage people overnight. It takes a lot of time. And when we think about the burnout, we usually notice that the final symptom is people are becoming tired, they are getting disengaged, or sometimes they also leave the organization. But long before that happens, something much deeper starts happening. And purpose is something which actually start repairing those different cracks in the business which we don't understand. So first of all, it there are five things which I want to highlight here. Number one is that purpose repairs the identity, which means that you are not only your KPI. You, if the targets are achieved, it is not like your targets are achieved and you are becoming successful. If your target are missed, you feel like you have failed. Performance, it will always go up and down, which is very natural. And we need, as a manager, as a leader, we need to understand that. What purpose does is that it reminds that our value is bigger than the performance reviews. And that is something which purpose you know make us understand in a much deeper way, that who exactly I am serving. I'm not performing, but I'm trying to serve. I think before we started the discussion, you said that I'm trying to create a platform where I really want to serve people. So
Yeah.
that's, if that service is there, then that becomes your identity. Now second is purpose also repairs the trust. How do we repair the trust? When people are constantly measured, ranked, or compared, that naturally becomes it doesn't become very comfortable. They stop asking for help, they will hide their mistake, they will avoid having difficult conversation, and the collaboration and the interaction within the team member, that goes a little bit down. What purpose does is it shift your focus from me to we, that you don't only think about yourself, you think about the entire team. And that's how, when the term we comes, you have a better trust within the team. Then third one is purpose repairs energy, which means that you know uh, Energy does not come only from resting or going for the holidays. Energy comes from many more things, and purpose will not remove the pressure. Purpose just changes the relationship with the pressure, because you know h- how your work is getting connected to the bigger thing. If you have heard about this story from John F. Kennedy during the NASA program, he just went to one of the program, and then he saw a janitor carrying a broom, and he is just cleaning. So he just asked that, "Why are you here? What are you doing?" Then he did not say that I'm cleaning the floors. He just smiled and said, "Mr. President, I'm helping to put a man on the moon." So that's the bigger goal which he is
Yeah,
connected to. So that is very important, because that becomes very important to have that. I was talking about the sustained motivation which you have. So when you have this kind of thing, you have a sustained motivation. So that is the third one. And then we also have the fourth one, which is purpose also repairs the relationship. How it helps to have a better relationship, because we are not working for ourselves. We are working for a shared outcome which we have, which has been communicated. So if we all know about the bigger goal of the business, then we are working on a shared goal. We don't think that what you need from me, but how what we all can work, and we can create together. So this is what I was saying, when the manager creates an space and environment where everybody play with their own strength. They all think that how can we all work together so that we can contribute towards a bigger goal where the company is working around. So those are the four different things which purpose helps to repair.
got it. How does the purpose help people reconnect with a meaning when work has become only targets, dashboards, and deadlines?
I would like to say, it reminds me of a very interesting story, which is like very important. How does it help to create the meaning when you have this kind of work? I was working in one of the company, and we dealt with multiple factories at that moment of time. So one of the factories said that I am not able to go beyond this efficiency which we are maintaining right now. It is becoming very very difficult, and we basically used to talk to all the managers and the leaders at that moment of time. But in that situation, when things were out of control, we thought that let's go and talk to the workers who are working. So what work the mindset of worker is that they just know what I am doing. They just know
Mhm.
that if the operation is stitching, that means he's just doing stitching, not beyond that. They will not think beyond that. So what we did, we created the brand story. We went to them. We just asked for a permission for 30 minutes, that can we just invite them and tell about the brand story. We showed some of the video that what you are doing right now is just the stitching, but because of that stitching, look at the experience which people are having in the when they are performing the sports, or when they are performing whatever they want to do. So your operation which you're doing right now, it is making much more bigger impact than you are thinking. So when they understood about this, we also got a permission to invite them to the store, and show them that where are the products which are kept in the rack, and which they you have produced. So that brings a more of a connection. So if we start doing so, the work they are doing is same. We are not changing the work at all. What is happening here is just we are trying to connect with a bigger goal which they have. If we do the same thing with the business also, the person who is doing coding, maybe if they understand that because of this coding, somewhere a person who is getting treated because of he had some mental illness, and because of that coding, that person is getting treated. So if that kind of connection will be there, I think people will always have a sustained motivation to work in whatever they are doing.
I think what you're saying is bring the purpose to them so that they understand why it is to be done, right? So I
Correct,
think
correct.
that's the point. Can you, uh, if you look at one difference between motivational purpose and operational purpose in daily work, what would be that?
Very interesting question. What is motivational purpose and the
Operational.
operational purpose? I mean, I just would like to connect this with what I was saying before, that when you talk to people, they understand that purpose is just very, it is on the surface, purpose is just like a statement when you use that for the marketing, and when you hear about that purpose, then people get motivated. Like for example, in my previous organization, they changed the purpose from the purpose was that uh, helping shoppers every day, something like that. No, just I mean, randomly I'm calling that purpose, and then it was converted to helping the customers, society, and the planet a little better every day. Now there are two different things which is happening here. Now when you announce that purpose, and there was a town hall which was there, and everybody got to know that there is a new purpose which is there, which has been changed for. Obviously, the leadership must have thought about doing something good. Now, if you announce that for one particular day and you don't do anything else in the entire year, what will happen? People will get motivated for that particular day, and after that, they will forget about it. Now, the operational purpose is something where when you announce that people got motivated, then you start bringing down to the different layers. Like there are different layers to purpose, not only announcing the purpose statement. When I talk about the layers, what are those? It comes down to all the stakeholder values, how it is converting to stakeholder values. Are the people there, they understood the purpose and they are really connected with that or not? You need to understand that. Then we come down to the strategy. Now we have the different departments. So all those different departments, are we building the strategy which is coming out of the purpose? Then we think about the policies in the business, then we think about the governance in the business, and then we think about everyday communication. We talk to the leaders and ensure that whatever communication which is happening within the team, they should get the reflection of what we have created now. So operational purpose is this, and when we have the combination of both, then I think everybody gets to know that, and your purpose gets down to each and every team member and gets reflected into the business also, and then you get the profit which you want to get, which you would like to get from there.
I think what you're saying is, from a sales team you may have targets, but the purpose helps them to see whose problem they are solving and why that matters, right? So if you look at a sales guy, he'll go and say, this is the purpose that I want to solve your problem. A cybersecurity team may closely work on instant, but purpose connects to their work, customer trust. So
Correct.
there are two things that we are talking about. One way of is a sale that we want to do. The other way is how do I protect what is sold to us so that it is protected in such a. But purpose connects to their work, customer trust, business continuity, and digital safety is what we said. Now, if you moving again to the framing of Indian context, in the fast growing Indian workplaces, purpose can help teams handle ambition without even turning work into a survival mode, because most of the ambitious projects that uh, teams work on have been successful, and that gives the team to be motivated. From a global standpoint, if you look at, purpose is becoming the way to rebuild engagement, trust, retention, and also look at who's leading it, leaders credibility, right? Now,
Correct.
from your point, what could be one of the trade-off that a user can look at or the leader can look at? Any takes on that?
So we need to understand that purpose has to be. I mean, leader has to understand that purpose and profit. There are two things which is always been talked about. That normally leaders think that if we only think about purpose, then maybe the company will not be profitable. But that is not true. When we think about the short term profit, then we don't think about the purpose. But you, if you really want to do a long term business and you really want to accelerate your business to a very different trajectory altogether, then in that case we have to take purpose and the profit together, and there are no trade-off between purpose and profit. They go hand in hand. A business, when think about solving the problem, then it is a very different thought process. Now what we do as a, if you go and meet to, I have been to different, multiple businesses and the factories to understand most of the things which are happening is just because of the pressure coming from the outside. you don't realize that what you are doing, it is impacting in such a different way to different kind of stakeholders, be it your employees, be it your society or the community and the planet. But when you start thinking about the problem which you're solving, your work will not change. Your work will be exactly the same. But what will change is the way it is happening, the way people will take into that, the kind of engagement which will happening in the business. If you start communicating that, and if you start connecting those to different people, everything, the entire game changes. So that is something which I think all the leader has to prioritize at this moment of time. I'm not able to hear you.
Sorry, I was on mute. Sorry. What we are saying is purpose repairs what pressure silently breaks inside people, right? So you need to look at that kind of a way where you give them a purpose. I don't think so. They'll look at breaking off, right? And that
Mm.
becomes more important for them.
Correct.
What role do middle managers play in turning pressure into or purposeful performance?
So middle manager is a very, you know, they stand in a very interesting position in any of the business. Now, if you look at the entire business, there are three different things which are happening. One is your, why of the business, which people may or may not be defining that.
Mhm.
Then second is the what of the business, which is the vision which the business has started with. That this is what I have to do. And third and very important thing is the how of the business, that how it's going to be executed. Now, if you look at the position of middle manager, what is happening is middle manager, they may not be knowing about why and what of the business, but they are expected to convert that particular purpose into the execution without knowing that why it is happening, and that is not very easy to do. But still,
Mhm.
middle manager, they really ensure that they have to do that, they have to execute that. If you look at the business culture, it is not created in the boardroom, it's not created in that room of the CEO. It is actually created in the conversation with your team members who are working at the ground. And most of the conversation, if you look, it does not happen with the CEO, but it happens with your manager. You're
Yeah.
just talking to your manager. And manager, there is one of the data which says that manager accounts for 70% of the employee engagement. That's the data coming from one of the research. 70% is a huge number, and that also turns out to the profit also of the business, right? Now, if you look at uh, the comparing to that analogy which I used for the air conditioner. Now again, we are talking about the machine, we are talking about the environment and the user. And if employee is a machine, then what is the business environment? The business environment is the experience which people are having. And who is the user? It is the manager who is the user. So a manager, the environment outside, it is not, because I said that they don't know that what is the why and how of the business, what of the business. So it is completely beyond their control, so they are just focusing on how to execute those things. How? So they have to know about that, how the machine is used. That is the most important thing that they used to know. They have to know that how those different team members has to be dealt with. Who? So think about the role of the manager. Who decides the priorities? Who will allocate the work? They give the feedback. They also recognize the effort. They also notice that if somebody is struggling with some of the things, so they have to also take care of that. What is the psychological safety in the team? Are they able to make mistake? Are they able to speak up with what they want to speak? So all those small things are dealt by the middle managers, right? And what we are doing, we are misunderstanding the role of middle managers today. We expected manager to, before, I mean, I mean, now it is improving a lot. But couple of years ago, middle managers, they are expected to just get the work done. But
Mhm.
today, the most important role of middle manager is to increase the capacity of the machine, which I was talking about. You cannot reduce the load, but you can increase the capacity of people. And how you can do that? You can do with different things, like creating that environment where people can really work at their best. You need to know the strength. You need to know how to converse with team member. You need to know that how do you convert the why to how with the team members. So that is the role of middle manager, which is very important. And for that, since they are converting the purpose of the business to the execution, it is very important for leaders to understand how do we empower the middle manager in a way that they can really do the work well. But they are completely ignored at this moment of time. When I speak to middle managers, because that is one of the forte which I work in my capacity, that I talk to a lot of middle managers to understand that how what are the challenges which they have. They have a lot of expectation from the leaders, and they also have a lot of pressure from their team members, and they are just wearing the mask, not able to show what they are going through to neither their leaders or not to the team members. So they have to be empowered enough so that they can really convert those strategy into the execution.
Very important points. I think they, they are the people who control the team, and you said managers are the people who build the teams also, right? And there is one important pointer that I want to say is manager, when people leave, it's not because of the organization, it is because of the managers, is what is a widely spoken pointer there. I think people stick to their managers. And the good thing also what we've seen is when a manager leaves, obviously after a few days the team also leaves and joins the manager. That's the
Yes.
challenge we've seen, because that environment which is built, I myself have been in with one of the greatest managers, and when the manager left, I could not go join him because I lost him itself, because he is no more, right? The point what I'm trying to say is when you have such managers, you don't want to look at somebody else. The growth is defined, the path is defined. So
Yeah.
that's what a middle manager can, or a manager can help. Why are middle managers often the first to absorb pressure from top and emotional from the team?
So the position of middle manager is created in a way, as I mentioned before, that they need to convert the why and the what into the execution part, and that is something which is happening through them. Nobody asks the middle manager that they are just uh, they're just been asked about the target and the numbers, and they are not being asked that how they are executing those things in their daily roles, what exactly they are doing, what kind of experiences which they are having with the team members, because they are in a situation that they can't explain to their team members. I remember I was talking to one of the I can just share the one of the story, that one of the manager who was sitting in a room, and there was the meeting was going on. He came out of the meeting and he just spoke to me, and he was almost on the verge of crying. And when I asked what happened, and he could not speak to anybody else, since I was in the people team, so I could talk to this person. And he told me that I felt that I'm not part of the room. I did not belong to that room. I did not feel that sense of belongingness. Now, understand from a team member perspective, they expect that sense of belonging from the manager, and manager himself is not feeling that sense of belonging because of the leaders, and nobody is trying to understand that problem. And all this thing which a team member, so I have been a team member, I have been the middle manager. Now I know those different situations, that how you, when I came to the people team, then I kind of, I took a step back and see that, how different people can think in a different way. Now, the same experience which team member is having, even the middle manager is having, but the only difference is that the team member can speak to anyone, they can complain, they can raise the question, but middle manager cannot do that. So he has to work, and he has to ensure that whatever is coming from the top, they have to take that, they have to translate it to the team members without complaining, without saying anything. One more thing which came to my mind was, when the appraisal happens, we always go to the manager and ask about if there is a lower percentage of appraisal, we always complain to the manager. We never ever ask that what kind of appraisal he has got, and he can't even share to the team members that what kind of appraisal I have got. Maybe he, because when I came to the people team, then I understood that even they are not getting that appraisal which they expect, and they are working so hard. They're working so hard to communicate. They are working so hard to create that environment for the team members, but then it is not happening. So that is one of the very, very difficult role which they are in. The only thing which we can do is appreciate, recognize, and whatever, whatever motivate that particular person, we need to understand the need of that manager, and we need to create that space where they can really feel to, and they can get the sustained motivation, and aligning them with the bigger goals of the organization which leaders can do.
As you were talking about, somebody came and spoke to you, and you gave us example where he was not able to take that kind of a load, right? And when you spoke to him, what are the simple conversations the manager starts to understand when whether people are stretched, struck, or silently burning out?
Can you just repeat the question this month?
So, what I meant is, what simple conversations can managers start to understand whether people are stretched, struck, or silently burning out?
So this is very simple. I think the most important thing a manager can do is to become a good listener. And
Hmm.
when what actually happens, I mean, practically what is happening in the business, that most of the managers, when they don't understand that why business are, or whatever changes are happening, whatever things are, new things are getting implemented, if manager are not able to understand those things, they also stop communicating to the team members, thinking that if I don't have answer, if suppose somebody will ask me that what answer will I give. But the
Hmm.
best thing which you can do as a manager is, maybe you have to just go and sit with the team member and listen to what is going in their mind. And sometimes the team member may not be speaking. So as a good listener, as a good coach, it is important to also understand the non-verbal communication which is coming from your team members. Not only the words which they are saying, but also those things which they are not saying. And when you do that, you will start understanding about those actual situation which are happening with the team members. And when you have all those information together, then you will start working on that. If you don't know, if you don't communicate, then nothing will happen. So first step would be to go and talk, communicate more and more, and listen to the team members so that you can solve the problems they have.
I think very valid points. Listening is one skill that you said that has to be part of a leader's growth when he becomes a leader. First thing is to listen to people what they want to voice out. Otherwise, obviously, they'll feel that they are not heard out, right? So that is the first point. Now, when when we look at these managers, they need to translate everything to a strategy or to a long-term goal, right? How should managers translate strategy into meaning, not just saying this is a task?
Good, a very good question, and I think this is very interesting one, and something which is not very well understood.
Mm.
Because when the work comes to the manager, the simple way of doing it is, just you delegate those things to all the team members, not understanding that every team member has their own strength first of all.
Mm. Mm.
And then for every team member, as if we are talking about the meaning, they have different meaning for their work. Like, not everybody will be happy with increasing the salary.
Yeah,
There are many team member who has different meaning, different types of meaning which they expect from the
meanings.
work.
Right.
There are people who expect status. There are people who expect recognition. There are people who expect salary, and there are multiple different things. So everybody has their own need. Now, as a manager, it is really important to spend time with your team member to understand that what is actual, what is the meaning which people are, your team members are looking at. What are those things which are really very, very important for them? Sometimes it is just that people are not feeling heard. So can we just talk to the person and understand, and because if there is some personal problem with the team member, and he or she may not be able to share with the manager, it is important for you to go and understand that, and try to understand that even if there is a boundary to be uh, you know to be made, and very clearly say that It is okay if you're not able to share that, but if you want to take some space, if you want to take some day of leave, take that and be comfortable. So I think it's more of a going down to the valley together with your team member and understand that what is the problem, and then help them slowly and gradually with their comfort take out from the valley and then come to the same level. So that's the role of the manager which is there, and understanding about their own type of meaning which they're looking, which they're expecting from the business. And then you connect to it. Like there are people who really look very very strong at commerce, that I have to have a better salary. There are people who just want to get a better position in the business. There are people who just want to be work in the brand of the company. They are really proud of saying that I work in this particular company. So there are different
Mm.
types of meaning which people are looking at, and we need to understand and solve that problem.
I think what you are saying is we should become a purposeful manager, right? And we should be in a position to translate the context, remove that kind of a noise that is there, and see. Normally, the tasks are not having those priorities which they take, and
Correct.
if you are able to prioritize what task can help you, how to look at better, I think that's the structure that we are trying to build. And
Yes, and sorry.
always also look at saying this will work. If this does not work, try this today. This will get you to 30%, 20%, whatever. Tomorrow you'll have 70%, rather not having zero today and tomorrow also, right? So try one task which may accomplish whatever you've done for 30%. Tomorrow
Yeah,
you will have 70, then you look at a solution, then you might get reduced to 50%. That way you are at least trying to see continuously something is getting resolved, and that
correct,
becomes a purposeful way of handling a task or a priority job also, right? uh,
correct.
Middle managers often carry pressure from leaders while managing emotional and expectations from the teams. That's the bigger thing where I cannot say my team I am burnt out, right? It becomes
Exactly.
very it is not the right way. And globally, if you look at middle managers are becoming the bridge between today strategy, tomorrow AI, then change, then there's a cultural change that is happening, and he also has to do that execution,
Correct.
right? So that becomes what could be your takeoff on or trade-off while we discuss on this pointer, Divesh?
You mean the change? Can you just repeat
Yeah.
the question? Sorry.
Now, what see we spoke about, right? You'll have to look at middle management, expectation, managing emotion stuff, right? And ask the managers what to stop doing. What could be that kind of a trade-off that you would like to look at?
So I think what we need to stop doing, more than that, I think it is important that what we need to start doing as a manager, the
Hmm.
first and most important thing which they have to think about, understanding about themselves first. I think that is the most important. That is the first step, because I have seen there are many of the managers, they know what to do, but
Hmm.
when it comes to the execution, when I mean, it is easy to preach to people that this is what you need to do, but then when it comes to you, you don't know that how you have to do that. So first of all, you need to understand about yourself in terms of your strength, in terms of your overuse strength, and which becomes your derailer, and what are your values. Because you, when you behave in certain way, there is a very different message is going to your team members.
Yeah.
Like for example, it's a very interesting example. I was delivering one of the training on inclusive leadership in my last organization, and one of the example which I was sharing is, there was a video which says that a manager who is sitting, a person who is presenting, and that person is from, suppose for example, northeast, and they're not very good in communication, not very good in English. I'm just taking a random example, or maybe from different place where they are not very good in English. And that manager who is sitting, and suddenly there is a phone rings, and the person started looking at the phone.
Hmm.
Now, that may be a very urgent call or urgent message for the manager, which that is the manager's story. But in the mind of that person who is presenting, he or she must be thinking that maybe I'm not very good in English. That's their story. Okay. So it is very important for manager to understand that your actions, your behaviors are impacting in a very different way, a very different story to your team members. So how do you ensure that every time you are around your team members, you have to behave in a way so that they feel comfortable, because they are the one. As a manager, if you talk about the percentage, you are mostly there to enable them to unlock their potential, not to do their work. You have to manage the operation part, but only a small percentage of that. But the majority of the percentage has to be people management, and you need to understand people more. You need to give that possibilities so that they can become the better version of themselves. So this is something which their manager has to do. Yes.
I think with that, we are on top of the hour, and I have about three questions which have come from the audience.
Okay.
I'm pasting them here they have come into my chat. Let me bring up these questions here so that we can have them addressed. Give me a second, please. Yeah. The first question that the audience is asking for is, uh, give me a second. Yeah. So I'm bringing up here. First question is,
Hear the thing on the screen.
yeah, what exhausts your best people manager most today?
Yeah, so this is very interesting one, because the best people, we are talking about the high performer, right?
Hmm.
So when we have the high performers, it becomes very comfortable for the leaders and the managers to give the task to that person, because that will be done,
Yeah.
because you trust that person. You know that this person, when I give the responsibility to this person, this will be done.
Hmm.
Now what is happening gradually, uh, I mean, initially that best person or the best performer will also like that thing, because he's getting recognized, he's getting appreciated, and he's under expectation that I will grow, and I will have, I will grow up the ladder very fast and all those things. So that will start like that. But then gradually that person will have anything happening in the business, like suppose there is a urgent situation which is coming from the customer, or there is a critical project which is there, so you are trying to delegate everything to this person, and this person is taking everything slowly and gradually. That person is becoming, I mean, maybe that person will not show the signal, but slowly and gradually, they are since they are taking those things beyond the capacity, they are slowly disengaging with the work. They are just thinking that maybe I'm not uh, he is not able to perform. Now, depending on that personality of that person, that person will behave in a different way. Like, I am also practitioner of the a psychometric tool called Hogan, and it says that everybody has their own way of disconnecting with things. There are
Hmm.
people who will just be silent, he will just move away from that. There are people who will become very aggressive and move against that. And there are people who will just try to do everything so perfectly that it will take a lot of time to do that, in that sense. So it means that you will only perform best when your capacity is there. Either you increase your capacity and take load as much as you can, sustain. If you really understand that I'm not able to manage this one, it is important that go and talk to your manager. And the communication is very important, so that you know that how can you delegate few things which you can't do to somebody else.
Yeah, got it. The second question that I want to bring up is this: what would repair performance pressure fastest in your teams?
I think we did discuss about this one. Performance pressure is, see, one is I think most important thing is the psychological part, which is there, like pressure when it comes to you. Now again, taking that analogy, that how can you improve the capacity of the machine, the improvement
Hmm.
can
Yeah.
happen in multiple ways, because there is one very important factor which we have not covered, which we have not spoken about, is that as a machine, when we work in the office, there is one recharging system which we have. When we go back to home, that is
Hmm.
the recharging station for all of us. We go and we want to relax. Now suppose that person has a very different situation, he is not able to sleep properly, maybe a different habit, maybe different relationship, that person is not able to recharge enough. So that is something which maybe we as a manager we don't know, but we have to always keep that notice of that, how we can ensure that that person has is not burning out because of the personal reason. That is the personal one. From the professional side, it is important to first of all understand that what is the strength of the team member. So when you know the strength, you will give that particular task which he really enjoys to do. He's in the flow, and even if you go the extra work, that person will do that. The second point is how do you connect with the bigger goals? When you know that you are not only working, but you are serving for something bigger, you are serving for a customer, you're serving for your stakeholder or shareholders, then you will be really enjoying that work. And third is very important is the relationship within the team members. As a manager, it is really important that to repair that performance. Sometimes since we have a very good people around us, we really enjoy the work because people are really supportive. Whatever happens, somebody will be there to back you up. So those are the three very important points which will be really helping you to repair the performance pressure.
We have another three. We'll comment them on the chat. I think because of the
You can
time
take
that
one
we
more
have.
question. If
Sorry,
you
you will take one more. Yeah,
You can take one more. Yes, yes.
sure. I'll bring one more up. Yeah. Where do you see silent burnout often, most often? Top performers, middle managers, new joiners, or leadership teams?
I would say all because it depends. Top performance has their own. I mean, they have their own situation of taking loads of work, and then they are burning out, and they are not able to say because that is the way people are looking at that person, and there are a lot of expectations, so he's not able to speak up. Middle manager again in the similar situation where you have expectation for your team members. You can't just say everything to the team members. You can't talk to the leaders because you will think that you will be judged in the future, so you will not be able to say that. New joiners has a very different situation because they are always in. I think one of the biggest thing for the new joiners is the maybe psychologically safe space for them, that they're not still comfortable with the team. So are they open up, are they really open enough to share what they want to say? They will have a fear of judgment in the starting, so maybe that is a different situation altogether. So if they don't have the comfortable, because that initial 3 to 6 months, that is very very important for new joiners to settle in. If they are not settled in and they see something bigger change in the organization, they completely step once they take one step back, and they will not be able to perform completely. And then leadership team, they have their own challenges because they feel loneliness. They can't share everything to team members. They are, because one of the wrong decisions they take, it will be a it can impact in a bigger way to the business. So those are the different challenges to the leadership team. So they have a lot of thoughts in the mind. The decision fatigue could be there in the leadership team. So those are the different things for different team members. So I think it is happening for all the different stakeholders in a very different way.
We'll take the other two comments from the chat and type them once we are off the screen, and I think live. Now, I have few takeaways that I have taken from this podcast, right? Performance first cultures fail when they measure output but ignore energy, meaning, and recovery with trust, right? That's the first point. Purpose repairs performance by reconnecting to people, to why work matters, who serves, and what truly be prioritized, because prioritization is very very important, right?
Mhm.
Middle managers are key bridges. They can either transmit pressure or purpose into clarity, sustainable execution. AI and automation should be used to redesign work and reduce friction, not to multiply expectations and accelerate burnout. That's another point that we want.
Yeah.
Performance led or purpose led performance is not just soft, it's a strong operating system, a model for retention, resilience, decision quality, and long term growth is what we wanted to talk about, right? These are the points that we discussed in the 1 hour podcast that we've been doing so far. And with this, any final words that you would like to add before we conclude the session, Devish?
Yes, so I think I would like to say that when we talk about the purpose in the business, especially, uh, it is not just we are talking about purpose statement. There are different layers to that,
Yeah.
and purpose in itself is like I talk about something called ECG, where you have to how can you create experience for the team members? How can you bring that sense of connection to the bigger goals when we talk about the contribution, where they feel that, and then we grow together, and we give that space for team members to grow, to business to grow, and for the leaders to grow. So all happens together. So there are different layers to purpose. We start from the purpose statement, then we go down to the strategy, then we do go down to the governance and the policies. So it is not just one thing. Just to, you mentioned about motivational purpose, it is more of a operational purpose, and then we bring the profit out of the purpose, and that becomes sustained.
Divesh, thank you for making this conversation deeply practical. This message is clear. Performance is important, but performance without purpose eventually drains, and the very the very people who make you grow is possible only with having a purposeful growth, is what we are saying. In 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 one place where teams is producing activity without meaning, remove or redesign. That's what we can look at, is what we want to say. Ask your team one question: what is exhausting and that is not actually helping us win? So if we are able to ask that question, I think we are solving a bigger problem. There is what I would like to say with
Correct.
this closing statement. uh, Please do let us know any comments, any points. Do follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. We
Yes, so
stream this. Yeah.
I'm very much active on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
and I really help people. So there are three different things which I am working at. One is leadership coaching in terms of Hogan psychometric assessment tool. Then I also help work with the middle managers to unlock their potential and making them understand about the bigger purpose of the business. And thirdly, for the manufacturing, I am also consulting for making them upgrading their standards so that they can really work with the international buyer. So those are the three different things which I'm working at. Please follow me on LinkedIn. I'm very much active there, and I can always connect. So if there's anything regarding purpose you will want to understand, feel free to connect to me.
That's the QR that we have brought of LinkedIn for Divesh. Please scan it and connect with him, understand what he's been doing, get to know what you want to resolve or solve. So looking at that, we would like to conclude this episode for today. Looking forward to see you all again in the next episode. Thank you for joining, Divesh. Thank you, audience, for joining us today.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.